Hello, and what's going on, everybody? It is Friday, and I don't really have a plan for today. I mean, I definitely have like top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, finish off the NFL top 10s, but we're just going to hit some ESPN headlines, maybe check some Ringer article titles, just see what people are talking about. I don't know. We'll get to it. Um, there were a couple little news headlines that I wanted to hit. Um, it appears that Saints defensive tackle, is it Daniel Onyemata? I believe I got the last name right for sure. Um, Here, let's just go ahead and look that up. Boom. Wait. There we go. We'll just flip over here and we'll go. Wait, why am I doing that? Oh, yeah, I know why. Open a new tab. Boom. Let's look at the NFL headlines real quick. Projecting the NFL's best and worst pass protection groups. Protecting odds. Oh, now they're just doing whole position group other stuff. Well, that's interesting. Might throw in that. Let's see. Richard Sherman. Let me check, make sure my camera's centered. Sorry. Boom. There we go. Let's see. Sherman says he is remorseful, faces 5 charges. So we'll definitely hit that. Oh yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned this yesterday, but Brady played the entire season last year on a torn MCL. And when he had that knee surgery after the Super Bowl, I suspected it was something serious. More serious than they were letting on. But a fully torn MCL, which, considering he's not necessarily moving around a ton, I remember back in the mid 2000s, I think it was the year that the Patriots lost, or I think it was during the Patriots' undefeated season run, maybe. Yeah, it would have had to have been. Philip Rivers was the starting quarterback for the Chargers. The Chargers were really, really good that season, and they lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship. Well, no, was it before that or after? I'm trying to remember, but anyway, it was the year that Marty Schottenheimer lost the Chargers job, even though they had gone like 14-2 or 13-3 that season and made it to the AFC Championship game. But Philip Rivers was playing on a torn ACL for, I believe, the entire postseason, and I think it happened during the season. But it was a fully torn ACL. So, and then there's also like Chargers teammate Sean Merriman like played the beginning of his career in the NFL with like none of the ligaments in one of his knees. Like, was at his most dominant before having surgeries to fix all that? It's crazy. Let's see here. Yeah, here's the Onyemata thing. Onyemata, whatever. 2 NFL teams less than 50% vaccinated. Who cares? Who cares? I'm honestly a little bit shocked that there's only 2 teams. Ooh, this is big news. We finally got the Taylor Moton extension for the Panthers. Been waiting for that to drop. Da-da-da. We'll tack this onto the end here. And then, where was it? There it is. Okay. Remain under 50% vaccinated. Less than 2 weeks from the start of training camp. As of Friday, Washington and Indianapolis had the 2 lowest COVID vaccination rates among the 32 teams in the league. Pittsburgh, Miami, Carolina, and Denver have the highest vaccination rates. 13 teams have achieved at least 85%. Not shocked about Denver. Just because of that state's politics and whatnot. Teams on the lower end of the vaccination table face potential competitive disadvantages, and that's bullcrap. The NFL doesn't plan to cancel any games this season. The person. So, like, this stuff's being leaked by someone. Like, this information is not even supposed to be public. And you know what? I hope whoever leaked this information gets fired. Because what you're basically saying here, because this is the thing. Your health information, your personal health information, that's your business. It's not for the public to just be made known of. Like, honestly, from a workplace standpoint, if I was an NFL player, I would be suing the NFL to find out who this individual, to try and find out who this individual is, because it is nobody's business whether I've been vaccinated or not. Like my medical information is mine, and it is supposed to be between me and my doctor. And I know we have injury reports and stuff like that, but players have signed for that kind of stuff. I still think this is, like, to me, this is a step too far. Like, whoever this person is, they do not have authorization to give this information. This person should be found, prosecuted, and jailed. And the journalists reporting on this information as well, it's like, I need to do some looking. But the journalists releasing this through the Associated Press, it's possible if a player wanted to, they could also. Because what you're saying is, it's not that we know which players have been vaccinated, but we know that so many of the players on a certain team are vaccinated. That while they're technically not giving out personal information, someone who at least has knowledge of, or who apparently has knowledge of these numbers and figures, and may know more, is releasing this stuff. Honestly, this is a question I probably should ask one of my lawyer friends. Let's see. Prosecutors hand down 5 charges against Richard Sherman. Let's see what we have here. Free agent cornerback Richard Sherman is facing 5 misdemeanor charges. Only misdemeanors stemming from his arrest at his in-laws' home northeast of Seattle earlier this week, according to documents filed by the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office on Friday. The charges include 2 domestic violence counts, criminal trespass in the 2nd degree, and malicious mischief in the 3rd degree, along with resisting arrest, driving while under the influence, and reckless endangerment of roadway workers. Driving while under the influence isn't a felony? Reckless endangerment of roadway workers is only a misdemeanor? He is expected to appear at his arraignment Friday and enter not guilty pleas? Not guilty? Talk about not taking responsibility for your actions. On Friday afternoon, he posted a statement on Twitter. I am deeply remorseful for my actions on Tuesday night. I behaved in a manner I am not proud of. I've been dealing with some personal challenges over the last several months, but that is not an excuse for how I acted. The importance of mental and emotional health is extremely real, and I vow to get the help I need. I appreciate all of the people who have reached out in support of me and my family, including our community here in Seattle. I am grateful to have such an amazing wife, family, and support system to lean on during this time. Yeah, we know about him being arrested early Wednesday after police said he crashed his car in a construction zone along a busy highway east of Seattle and then tried to break into his in-laws' home in the suburb of Redmond. His father-in-law, Raymond Moss, told officers that he armed himself with a handgun and fired pepper spray at Sherman, or as Sherman tried to burst in the door with his shoulder. Officers were cautious about arresting Sherman because of his size, strength, and belligerence, according to police reports released Thursday, which is why they ended up using a dog. He displayed severe mood swings and slurred speech, had bloodshot, watery eyes, and had the odor of intoxicants emitting from his person during contact with authorities. Sherman told authorities that he was upset over his children being taken from him, the report said. Why were the children being taken from him? Was it just in that moment? Are he and his wife getting a divorce? What is going on here? After he allegedly resisted arrest, Sherman's mood seemed to lighten once he was in custody, and he even joked about the form the trooper had used to take him to the ground. According to police reports, Sherman was polite and cooperative at the hospital where he was taken to be treated for a police dog bite he suffered. Let's see. He was released without bail after a hearing Thursday. As terms of his release, Sherman was ordered not to have contact with his father-in-law, nor to use alcohol or non-prescription drugs, and not to possess a weapon. That's pretty simple. In February, King County prosecutors and the sheriff obtained an extreme risk protection order for Sherman, which barred him from having guns after a judge determined he posed a danger to himself or others. Details of the case were sealed, and it was not immediately clear whether any weapons had been seized from him. Now, wait a second. What? So something's been going on for a long time. And this is another thing. Because this was like a confusing thing, like when this was all being first reported, that there was either a 911 caller was talking about, and maybe this is the wife. We don't have, it doesn't, in the clip I saw, I didn't see anything about her saying, like, he didn't live there. And I'm wondering if they were talking about the in-laws' residence that he didn't live at. But there was some question over whether, like, there was a charge, or there was a, basically the idea was he was breaking into a house of a family member that he didn't live in or live with, which I'm guessing now is the in-laws. But now, if his children are being taken from him, was it that night because they were with him and he was drunk? Or has something been going on for months? There's a protective order here. We haven't heard anything, but, like, Are they separated? Are they separating? This is every time I look at this stuff, something weird pops up. So we're 5 months removed, approximately, from this same King County prosecutors and the sheriff obtaining an extreme risk protection order for Sherman, which barred him from having guns after a judge determined he posed a danger to himself or others. And the details of that case are sealed. And I have to imagine that has something to do with this. But Richard Sherman's facing 5 misdemeanor charges. The charges include 2 domestic violence counts, criminal trespass in the second degree, and malicious mischief in the third. Wait, so those 2, I guess, are the domestic violence counts. So criminal trespass and malicious misconduct involving a family member or like a family member's residence, whatever, along with resisting arrest, driving while under the influence, and reckless endangerment of roadway workers. And he's pleading not guilty to all of this, so I guess he's thinking his money will get him out of this. Give me a quick second. I just realized I've been muted. I've been muted this entire time. Oh, I came back and I didn't unmute my mic after checking on that noise. So anyway, for people who've been wondering what I've been talking about this entire time, I've been looking through this projection for offensive tackles, and I think I missed. Did I talk about the Oni meta stuff before or after? Anyway, Saints defensive tackle Daniel Oniemeta. Maybe you saw the screen, but he's suspended for 6 weeks, the first 6 games of the season, due to performance enhancers that he's trying to review his supplements because he didn't, or he was like, I'm really shocked by this, but who knows. Talked about the Richard Sherman thing. I think that was before I got up, but the Sherman situation's interesting. Man, I've been going for a while, just totally muted. Wow, I feel dumb. See, this is why I wish at least one person would tune into my streams. Cause wow, that sucks. Well, anyway, I'm kind of going through and I'm just kind of shocked at some of these rankings. Like Seattle being ranked or projected to be the 4th best pass blocking offensive line. And just some of these guys' rankings, who we have really high, opinions of. Well, Graham Glasgow, 64th among guards. He was supposed to be a big upgrade for them. So Graham Glasgow is the worst starting guard in the league when it comes to pass protection, apparently. Whew, man. '56th, Eric Flowers. Ouch. See the Bears. Tevin Jenkins, a rookie. Cody Whitehair, 28th at center, which apparently they're projecting him to get moved to guard. Sam Mustipher, 30th among centers, I guess is going to start there. James Daniels, because of injury, didn't qualify. And then Jermaine Ifedi was 62nd in guard, and that's their starting right tackle. Yeah, Bears fans talking about the upgrade among their offensive line. I'm like, you went from Charles Leno and Bobby Massey, who were 38th and 43rd, to a rookie in Tevin Jenkins, who I love, who is my favorite offensive tackle in the draft, and Jermaine Ifedi, who was the 62nd best pass blocking guard last season. Oh, yeah, y'all are going to be so good this year. I mean, I think the Bears do have a lot of talent, but their right tackle situation is terrible. Let's see. The Raiders. Incognito didn't qualify. Andre James didn't qualify. Denzel Good, 55th. Alex Leatherwood's a rookie. And Colton Miller was 29th. Talk about turning a strength into a question mark. See the Jaguars here. Cam Robinson was 59th among offensive tackles, and they franchised him. Linder was first among centers in pass protection. Norval's 15th. AJ Cann, 35th. Jawan Taylor was 61st among offensive tackles. Taylor's a young tackle. Robinson has been better in the past, so we'll see what happens here, but if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'm not excited. Let's see, Rashawn Slater's a rookie. Matt Feller was 67th. Corey Lindsley was 5th. Ode Abushi, 32nd. Brian Bulaga didn't qualify because of injury. A healthy Bulaga and Slater living up to his billing should help a lot. that's going to be interesting on the interior, or should I say, the left guard spot led by Matt Feller. That'd be a worry spot to me. See, Jordan Williams was 45th last year. Quentin Spain, 46th. Trey Hopkins, 20th. Jackson Carman, rookie, and Riley Rife was 37th. Well, Carman probably projects better as a guard than a tackle to me. So that draft pick maybe isn't as bad now. Still, I thought he was a reach. Vikings, Darisaw, rookie Ezra Cleveland was 53rd. He'll get better in year 2. Garrett Bradbury, 23rd. Wyatt Davis is a rookie. And pass protection is his weak spot. Brian O'Neill, 26th. I think that's a line that has the ability or has the potential to outdo its projections. Falcons, Jake Matthews, 41st. I could see that moving up. Jalen Mayfield, rookie left. He's a tackle to me, but they're going to start him out at guard, which is fine. Matt Hennessy didn't qualify last year because of missing time. Alex Mack was their starting center. Hennessy probably didn't get enough snaps. But I like Hennessy long term. Chris Lidstrom, he and Bradbury are part of the same draft class. I believe they'll both take steps forward after being 23rd at their positions, which for Lindstrom, that's better because there's 2 guards per team. Caleb McGarry was 47th. See, Lidstrom and McGarry were part of the same draft class. Titans, I'm kind of shocked that they're this low. Lawan missed most of last season, so he didn't qualify for the rankings, but he's one of the best at his position. Roger Saffold III was 66th among guards in pass blocking. He had a down year, though, and he started off his career as a tackle. I would expect that to move up. Ben Jones, 6th. Nate Davis, 37th. And then we got rookie Dylan Radins. I think this is a massive underrate. See, for the Panthers, Cameron Irving, if he's their starting left tackle, man, Sam Darnold is screwed. John Miller, 52nd. Pat Alfon did not qualify, and there's a reason the Vikings let him walk. Cameron Irving, there's a reason he's on his 3rd, 4th NFL team. At least 3rd. Matt Parody, I would expect better than 29th from him this year. John Miller, 52nd. And then Taylor Moton was 16th last year. Like, outside of Moton, Dalton would have been better off. Man, or Darnold. I mean, not Dalton, Darnold. Sam Darnold, like, I love the weapons in Carolina, but that offensive line, oh boy. Isn't Greg Little still there? I figured Little would be better than Irving. Oh, that's... Let's see, New York Jets. Mekhi Becton was 49th. He'll be better in year 2. Elijah Vera Tucker's a rookie. I think he'll be solid from the beginning. Connor McGovern, 33rd among centers. That's not great. Greg Van Roten, 44th. Morgan Moses, 39th. Maybe Moses... I'm trying to remember, was Bobby... Because I know Massey at one point I think was on the Washington football team. But maybe Moses was the right tackle. I'm trying to remember. One of them was on the Washington football team, and one of Moses and Massey was on the Bears. Either way. Okay. I mean, the Jets have a better offensive line than the Panthers, for sure. Good for Zach Wilson. The upside for for Darnold with the Panthers though is he does have Joe Brady. He does have, even though they lost Curtis Samuel, they drafted Terrace Marshall. They have DJ Moore. They have Robbie Anderson. They've got Moton locked down, and a lot of teams put their best pass rusher against the right tackle anyway. So, or at least a lot. So that's good. Irving has been better than he was early in his career, but I thought he was playing more interior line than tackle. Pat Elflein, he's been up and down. Man, feel for him. But I would project the Jets' offensive line to be better than the Panthers. Like, if I'm just being honest, just from the improvement of Becton. And I expect the scheme to help too. The Lions, Taylor Decker was 23rd. Jonah Jackson was 58th. That's not great. Frank Ragnow 7th. So he's the best run blocking center, and he's top 7 pass blocking. Oh my goodness. Halapolavati? Vitae. We'll just call him Vitae. He didn't qualify last year. He was signed as an offensive tackle, but he'll be better at guard. And then Penei Sewell will start at right tackle. Bit of projection there, because you're going to have to project how good Penei Sewell is going to be, having never played in the league. Vitae didn't qualify last year. And Jonah Jackson was 58th. Like, The Dolphins, and you want to talk about, man, this is precipitously dropping. The Dolphins in 30th. Austin Jackson was 54th. Not a surprise. He was a project. I think he'll be better this year. Solomon Kindley, 57th. Max Skura was 4th at the position. The Ravens let him go. Robert Hunt didn't qualify. He'll be better at guard. Leon Eichenberg is a rookie. I get why that line's down this low. Steelers, let's see. You got Okorafor at 46. You got Kevin Dotson did not qualify. Kendrick Green's a rookie. Trey Turner was 70th. Oh my gosh, no wonder the Chargers cut him. Lord, that is the worst ranking of anybody I've seen on this list who's going to be a starter. Although I kind of expect that to bounce back some. And then Zach Burns didn't qualify last year. Whew. And then 32nd, the Giants. Andrew Thomas was 56th. Shane Lemieux was 69th. I mean, I guess he could take solace in the fact that he was better than Trey Turner in pass protection. Nick Gates, 34th. Will Hernandez, 31st. And then Matt Peart didn't qualify. Did Nate Solder retire? I mean, I think Thomas will get better. And Peart was a guy that some people at one point had as like a potential first-round offensive tackle. I think they got him in the 3rd round. I like Peart, and I like Hernandez a lot. We'll see, but I mean, like, Gates wasn't even good enough to be, like, the worst starting center in the league, like, or should I say, to be in the top 32 centers in the league last year. So that's not good for the Giants either. Oof. So, anyway, we'll hit these top 10 by position things and finish them off. I can't believe I boomered and was muted for that had to at least been 15 minutes. I have no idea. Oh, that's bad. ranking the NFL's top 10 receivers for 2021. So we'll start with the receivers, and we'll make our way to the running backs and the quarterbacks. So, let's see here. They've got Devontae Adams number 1. That's interesting. I think he's one of the best receivers in the league. I don't know if I'd say he's the best, though. Made a ton of plays. Release game was on point. Constantly gets open. Went from 5 to 18 touchdowns year over year. Large catch radius, gets yards after the catch. AFC offensive coach said, there's nothing he's not doing right now. And after last season, he definitely had the best season. He probably had the best season of any receiver last year. 92.2 Pro Football Focus rating. And grabbed 589 yards after the catch to lead all wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers had a 136 passer rating when targeting Adams. And that's what defenses knowing what's coming, since 34% of Adams' attempted routes resulted in a target. Like, I mean, seriously, imagine 1 out of every 3 routes you run, you get targeted. Jeez. After last year, he's probably well deserving. This was the guy I kind of expected to see, though. In his first year with Arizona, Hopkins' 75 first down catches led all wide receivers. I think it was second only to Travis Kelce last year in first down receptions. And he dropped 1 pass on 159 targets, or 0.06%, an improvement from a 2% clip the year before. His 14.8% rate of 20-plus yard catches is among the lowest on this list. Yeah, but that's because they run so many screens and quick actions, and they don't use him. It's like, I really think Kingsbury has got to open up the offense this year, going long. Stephon Diggs goes from honorable mention to 3rd. I believe he led the NFL in receiving yards last year. Diggs vaulted from fringe top 10 guy to one of the game's best. He was already one of the game's top 10 receivers. I mean, that's just the truth. Thanks to a truly dominant season, Allen's new BFF led the league in targets, 166, catches, 127, and receiving yards, 1,535. A veteran AFC defensive coach recalled, years ago, one of Minnesota's receivers got hurt, and they put in this new guy, Diggs. Or new receiver, Diggs. Smaller guy, more of a slot receiver at the time. We figured it shouldn't be a problem. We get in the game, and he had a pretty dang good day. He's been great ever since. Diggs produced 20.3 receptions above expected per NFL Next Gen stats, by far the highest clip in the NFL. Though Diggs was unhappy in Minnesota, those who coached him or followed him closely knew he would thrive when made the focal point of a high-level offense. He was a primary option for the Vikings, but he shared that role with Adam Thielen, which it's funny. We look a year later, and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are doing just fine coexisting together. He's so competitive that his demeanor and ability had the opposite effect than some thought. He lifted the entire offense up with his standard of play and his ability to get open and make tough catches, an AFC exec said. The thing was, Diggs wants to be the unquestioned number one, and the thing was in Minnesota, for certain things, like, they felt Adam Thielen was a better, and he was a better, like, maybe safety blanket option, but Diggs was a better downfield target. With Buffalo, he is the undisputed number one, and, you know, everything does fall in line behind him. His ego would not allow Minnesota to work, but it's going to work just fine in Buffalo. And that's not necessarily a knock on Diggs, but, you know, you look at the Vikings with Thielen and Jefferson going into this season, I think the Vikings feel pretty good about, you know, that trade that they made. And I think the Bills do as well. An AFC coordinator, practice like every day is a game. Or practices like every day is a game. He's known for that. Really quick, great route runner, knack for getting open. I mean, that's a quick, sweet way to put it. Tyreek Hill's interesting, and I get why some people have him as high as 1 and some people have him as low as 10. He's a speed demon. But he's not Hopkins. But he's better on contested catches than people give him credit for, too. Or than some people do. He not only managed to be the fastest wide receiver on any given catch in 2020, 21.91 miles per hour on a 44-yard touchdown in Week 14, he also covered more distance than any other offensive player. Not a great route runner, and Andy Reid's scheme helps him, but he might be the hardest guy to prepare for, an NFC exec said. He's developed into a more refined route runner the past few years, with the Chiefs smartly taking it slow with him, expanding his workload every year. His 6 drops were problematic last year, and some voters wonder whether he's scheme dependent. Maybe. But here's the thing, and this is a dirty little secret. Every player, to a degree, is scheme dependent. You're not going to catch 125 passes in a scheme that doesn't throw the ball enough for you to get 125 catches. It's a player can't make a bunch of 20-plus yard gains if the playbook and the scheme isn't geared towards those kind of routes and those kind of shot plays. It's just, you know. But many acknowledge Hill scares you more than just about anyone. His speed's ridiculous. So, then you got Julio Jones, who coming off a down season, someone had him ranked as low as 13th, which I think is crazy, even though he's 32. But, like, if you look at his pace, based on the games he did play, he was on pace to have another, like, really productive season. I mean, in 9 games, he had, like, 770 receiving yards. Jones dipped 4 spots because he was number 1 last year. But teams say turn on the tape and you still see a unicorn. This is not an A.J. Green situation where the player clearly declined. An AFC exec said, he's still that dude. We heard this similar assessment from several teams who looked into trading for Jones, whom Atlanta shipped to Tennessee, and I'm so thankful, for draft picks and a $15 million salary dump. Despite missing 7 games with hamstring issues last season, Julio still posted good numbers. His 11.2 yards per target was the best in the league. That's ridiculous. And he paced for nearly 1,400 yards over a 16-game schedule. Nearly 32% of his receptions were for 20 or more yards. Still the best. Injuries aren't an issue, an AFC scout said. If they were contending last year, I think he would have played. And basically what he's saying is Julio and Atlanta probably shut him down for his trade value, or just so he could be healthy for trade value purposes or just being better for a year where they expect to be more competitive. Keenan Allen 6. Now, I like this. Allen became the 4th receiver to sign a contract worth at least $20 million annually, and he followed up that deal with his 3rd 100-catch season. Opposing teams use Allen's route running in the film room as an example of how to win at the line of scrimmage. Allen he and Devontae Adams are probably the 2 best receivers off the line of scrimmage in the NFL. And in terms of route running, there might not be a more crafty route runner than Keenan Allen. Because out of all the guys on this list, he's probably the least athletic. And that's not a dig. He's just that stinking good that it doesn't matter. Everything he does is detailed. Releases, setting up DBs in the route stem and at the top of the route. An AFC offensive coach said, really does a nice job of creating separation. Added a separate AFC coach. The only knock is he's not a true vertical guy, but he can still win deep though. If I need 8 yards on a crucial down, he's one of the first guys I call. The numbers validate that claim. Allen caught 16 of his 33 tight window targets per NFL Next Gen stats, the best clip among receivers with at least 20 targets. Mike Evans, 7th here. His lowest ranking was 13th. What was Allen's lowest ranking? Someone had him outside the top 10. I just couldn't do that. He's just too good at the position. Young receivers try to unseat Evans, but he keeps fending them off. Like, you say young like he's a veteran, but he's 27. Averaging 15.5 yards per catch over 7 seasons is impressive, which the fact that he's played 7 seasons and is only 27. But Evans took that a step further in 2020 with 28.1% of his catches going for at least 20 yards, second to Carolina's DJ Moore among receivers with at least 100 targets. Tom Brady found him 13 times in the end zone out of their 109 targets on the season. Now, you're probably sitting here thinking, if you were listening there, well, didn't Julio average like 30-something% of his catches going for at least 20 yards? That's true, but he didn't see 100 targets because he only played 9 games. Tom Brady found him 13 times in the end zone out of the 109 targets on the season. I mean, that's impressive. He was DK Metcalf before DK Metcalf. What was that? Sorry. I don't know what these guys are doing. These landscapers across the street are doing, but my goodness. Or maybe they're not landscapers. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, use DK Metcalf before DK Metcalf. Yeah, but Evans has way more wiggle than Metcalf. And Evans nowhere near it doesn't have near the long speed that DK Metcalf does, but still. At an AFC scout, I thought he declined in 2019, but maybe wasn't playing as hard as he needed to, or as he used to. Looked better this year. You don't realize how good he is until you really watch him and how consistent he's been. He's a constant number 7 or 8. Not a top 5 guy, but definitely top 10. He doesn't do it for everybody. But he's the size of a tight end and can run, and that's rare. I don't know. I think Evans is a borderline top 5 guy, in terms of talent level. When he's at his best, he's as dangerous and as dominant as anyone. The coordinator says Evans reminds him of a bigger Steve Smith. Because when you watch the tape and you play him, he will downright want to fight you. He will get nasty with you. Don't get that dude angry. That I agree with. The thing is, Steve Smith was always angry. I don't know if Mike Evans is always angry. Then you got Michael Thomas has fallen all the way to 8th. Some people had him unranked. He was number 2 going into last season. He was injured a lot of last year. His production declined. His yards per game average dropped from 107.8 to 62.6 yards per game from 2019 to 2020, which he was historically good in 2019. That 2019 clip led the league, so duplicating that would have been difficult, but a 42% dip. I think some of that has to do with the Saints' offense. A lot of it has to do with him having nagging injuries and trying to play through nagging injuries. At an NFC coordinator, he can beat you on a post too. He's a big in-breaking route guy, intermediate guy. Skeptics wonder about the in-house ramifications of Thomas reportedly punching teammate C.J. Gardner-Johnson during a practice, and Drew Brees' departure. I don't know. That number 8 ranking for Michael Thomas may look really stupid once the season starts. Then they got DK Metcalf at 9. I don't know if I'm ready there yet. Metcalf got the 5th most total votes, with evaluators recognizing he's too elite to leave off, but he didn't crack some top 10s because of perceived limitations. The only concern with him is his stiff lower body fluidity. An NFC exec said there are certain routes where he won't be able to bend like some of the other young receivers can, but he's such a force that he overcomes all that, and he has gotten better as a route runner. It's hard to argue with his production. Metcalf is one of 4 receivers with at least 2,200 yards and 17 receiving touchdowns in his first 2 seasons in the NFL. The others, Odell Beckham Jr., Randy Moss, and A.J. Green. That's interesting. His 9.9 yards per target was one of the best clips in the NFL. I don't know if he has to be that precise route runner. He can win literally every 50-50 ball, outrun you, or just overpower you. And that's true. And then you got A.J. Brown. And the last spot apparently came down to him and Ridley. I'm not going to read this because, I gush about A.J. Brown. Then you got Ridley. You've got Allen Robinson the third. Allen Robinson the second. Robinson should be in the top 10. Period. Odell Beckham Jr., he could claim a spot. Like, he has the ability to reclaim a spot, but I don't know. There's so many good receivers in the NFL right now that, like, great ones that, as great as his rookie season is, Justin Jefferson, you kind of still need to see more to put him in the top 10. I thought it was interesting seeing Cooper Kupp over Robert Woods. But in terms of, like, playing the position, Kupp is very much like Keenan Allen. He's not a dominant athlete, but he's so good at the position that it doesn't matter. Chris Godwin, and then Adam Thielen, and then Terry McLaurin, Jarvis Landry. I mean, the fact that you've got, like, Minnesota with 2 players in, like, the honorable mentions. You've got Cleveland with 2 players in the honorable mentions. You have the Titans with 2 top 10 receivers, like number 5 and number 10. That's crazy. Tyler Lockett should get some love here too, in my opinion. Tampa has 2 receivers, one in the top 10, one in the honorable mentions. Whew. So I'm going to give you my top 10 receivers. We're going to try and be quicker moving through the running backs and quarterbacks. So for my top 10 receivers, just because he was too dominant last year to not put number 1 in terms of his scoring. I'm going to go with Devontae Adams. Then I'm going to go Hopkins, number 2, and Diggs, 3. I think that's the top 3. I think they nailed the top 3 after last season. And you could put those 3 in any order. I don't care. After that, I'm going with Julio, 4. And I would consider putting Julio above that if it wasn't for the hamstring issue last year and that he's 32. I want him to be number 1, though. But Julio's right up there. What is this? Oh, Tyreek Hill dunking a basketball. So I got Jones at 4. And this is probably where I'm going to lose some people, but I'm putting Allen Robinson 5. Allen Robinson has had elite seasons, and the best quarterback he has ever played with, might literally be Mitchell Trubisky. Because the version of Nick Foles he played with in Chicago was not, Super Bowl winning Nick Foles or that year under Chip Kelly Nick Foles. Or maybe you say Blake Bortles. But, the argument is between Blake Bortles, Mitch Trubisky, the Trubiscuit, and Nick Foles. And Allen Robinson has put some really great numbers. He's an elite receiver and should be in this top 10. And people are leaving him out, and they shouldn't. I'm putting Robinson top 5. I'm putting him 5. After that, I'm gonna have Keenan Allen in 6th because Allen is just ridiculous without elite athleticism. Evans is 7. Just because he's done a better job of staying. You know what? I don't know. I'm going to put Thomas 7. He really dipped last year, and I'm going to reward Allen for being continue to be so good. Thomas had some injuries. I'm going to put Thomas 7. I'm going to put Evans 8. I'm going to put A.J. Brown 9. And then I'm going to put Tyreek Hill 10. Tyreek Hill's speed is incredible. He's dangerous. But I don't know. And yes, I would take A.J. Brown over DK Metcalf. Call me crazy. I might be calling myself crazy by the end of the year. But I love A.J. Brown. I'm a little biased because he's on my team. But like that spot would come down to like basically those last two spots there, 9 and 10, come down to Brown, Metcalf, Ridley, Tyreek Hill. And even after just 1 year, I would say Justin Jefferson. And because Beckham can't stay healthy. And even sometimes when he's been healthy, he just hasn't been as effective. Although I think that's going to change. It looks like it's already started to change. But I'm going to leave Metcalf and Ridley out of my top 10, and it's going to be Brown 9, Tyreek Hill 10. But, man, that choice between Hill and Metcalf is a close one for me. Some of that's preference, though. I like my receivers. Like, not that I hate receivers that are under 6 feet, but I like them to be strong if they are. And, I mean, Hill's a really good athlete. He's stronger than his build. But I just like bigger receivers. Or more physical receivers. So, anyway, that's my list. Once again, for receivers, Adams, Hopkins, Diggs, Julio, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. That's my top 10. So let's get to these running backs. Boom. So for running backs, I think there's an easy number 1, and that's Derrick Henry. That's who I'd have number 1. No need to talk about that. 2, I agree with Kamara being 2, but that's a tougher one. I don't agree with Cook being 3. I get it. But what I found interesting is they have Christian McCaffrey 5, because I've already looked at these. They have McCaffrey 5, and down in here they talk about his durability and ability to hold up. Dalvin Cook has had worse and more significant injuries, and more of them, than Christian McCaffrey. Yet he's not. His durability concerns aren't enough to keep him from, or to keep him down. Here we go. If you value durability as far as criteria, then I'm not sure he's going to hold up, an NFL offensive coach said. Love the player, but at that size, 5'11", 205, with the injuries, I'm just not sure. There's part of me that kind of understands that, but I really don't. Because, my thing is, I guarantee you that same person probably, maybe they questioned it with Cook, but I bet you they rated Cook ahead of him. And Cook's great. I just have questions about his durability. And I think Kamara and McCaffrey are just so much more dynamic in the passing game than Cook. Chubb being up here at 4 is really interesting as well. Because that's still probably my. And then you got Barkley, who's coming off a serious injury, and he was number one going into last year. If he's healthy, Barkley should be. Well, that offensive line is still not great, or at least is going to have to prove that it's better. But he's got way more, guys on offense to take some of the heat off of him. Then you got Zeke at 7. For the running back position being kind of dead, it actually seems like it's kind of in a renaissance right now. Aaron Jones 8, Joe Mixon 9, and Josh Jacobs 10. Some honorable mentions. Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is the next one. For sure. And I'd argue he's already better than Jacobs. Kareem Hunt, if he wasn't backing up, Chubb, Hunt be up in the top 10. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he's going to be better in year 2, especially if he's healthier in year 2. And if the offensive line's any better this year, that's going to help him as well. And then you got Miles Sanders. He's a really good back in all facets. And I think he's held back because of the scheme he's been playing in Philly. If I'm listing my top 10, it's pretty easy for me. You got Henry 1, Kamara 2. I like bigger, more bruising backs. So I'm going to go with Chubb at 3. Then I'm going to go McCaffrey 4. No, not McCaffrey 4. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, if Barkley's healthy this year, I might even take him over Kamara. But I got Henry 1. I've got Kamara 2. I'm going to put Barkley 3. Then Chubb 4. Then we're going to go McCaffrey. We're going to leave him at 5th. And we're going to put Cook 6th. After that, I'm going to put... Based on the last couple years, I'm going to put Aaron Jones at 7. Then I'm going to put Zeke 8, Mixon 9. And I'm going to put Jonathan Taylor at 10 above Josh Jacobs. He's just way more explosive. And Mixon has a chance to move up the board here, because he actually dropped a spot. He only played 6 games last year, only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. That wasn't his fault. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year we're talking about Mixon ahead of Cook. We're talking about Mixon ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. Because if they get a full year of Burrow, if the offensive line is better, that receiving group with Chase and Boyd and Higgins looks really, really nice. I think Mixon could have his best season this year. And he's only 24. And I like all these honorable mentions. I like Jacobs. And I throw in another one, or another 2. With the way the lines are going to play this year, DeAndre Swift could have a huge year, running and receiving. I could see Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team. He'd be in my honorable mentions as well. And I'm also kind of shocked, we didn't see anything about, J.K. Dobbins or Cam Akers either. because I think they're going to be in the discussion by the end of the year. It also depends on who gets hurt, too. I think it's going to be really hard for Aaron Jones to keep up his production, but I'm not going to bet against him at this point. Dak's talking about Zeke being in the best shape of his life, but Zeke had a really down year last year. And really, he's been kind of declining since he signed that big extension. So, we'll see. Now we get to the fun part. Let's talk about these quarterbacks, which I've done like my own quarterback rankings in the past, but I think it's going to be interesting looking at this. Don't care about that stupid ad that autoplays. Let's see. Editor's note. The original quarterback ballot sent to voters included Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans, who finished 4th in last year's poll. Watson was removed from the rankings, however, due to his uncertain status for the season. He faces 22 active lawsuits alleging, terrible things. At least 8 of those accusers have spoken to police. Oh, now 8 of them have finally spoken to police. Because when they filed their lawsuits, none of them had. Interesting. All right, so number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Not a shock. That's who I'd put at number 1. Number 2, you've got Aaron Rodgers. After last year, that's who I'd put number 2 as well. Brady had to have a fully torn MCL repaired, which he played on last year, but who knows what damage that did to the knee. And I mean, he's 43. And even though they won the Super Bowl, hear me out here, that still doesn't mean he's a top 5 quarterback. He had the best supporting cast in the league last year. So, and I'm not saying that as a slight, but I don't know if I'd put him at 3. Russell Wilson at 4. Josh Allen at 5. And then Stafford at 6. Which, if you're looking at this, his highest ranking 4, lowest ranking 13. The spreads get really subjective after that top 3. Because, what was it? You had Brady highest 1, lowest 6th, and he was 7th going into last year. Aaron Rodgers, highest 1, lowest 4. He was 3rd going into last year. Mahomes, 1, 3. He was 1 last year. So, I mean, these ranges start expanding really quickly at the position. There's kind of an obvious kind of top echelon. Wilson, highest 2, lowest 9. Allen, highest 2, lowest 9. And then it really starts to drop. 4 and 13 for Matthew Stafford. He ends up 6th. You've got Dak Prescott here, 7, then 14. Lamar Jackson, 8th place. Some people are probably like, he was the MVP for 2019? Because defenses figured out that offense, and Lamar was not as effective last year throwing the ball. That's not all his fault, but he still went to last year 6th, coming off of the MVP. Some people didn't even have him on their top 15. His highest ranking was a 5. And I think that's pretty fair. He's still got to prove the passing. He'll have the weapons this year. We'll see if Greg Roman will open up the scheme, whatever. But it's possible the reason the scheme wasn't opened up as much last year is because Jackson isn't as capable or isn't a capable enough passer to do it. I think putting him at 8 is completely reasonable. Justin Herbert jumping up to 9th. Highest ranking of 6. Some people didn't have him in their top 15, which I get. I don't know if he's top 10 yet, but he had the best rookie season of any quarterback probably ever last year. And he's got what should be an improved offensive line, or at least they're hoping is a improved and bolstered offensive line. And he's got improved weapons. Oh, I say improved. He's got good weapons in the passing game. They did lose Hunter Henry. That is a big loss. But if Eckler's healthy, he's still got Keenan Allen. He's still got Mike Williams. Then Kyler Murray 10th. The thing with him has been consistency. And with all the weapons there, I think you could blame a lot of it on on maybe Kingsbury's scheme, but Kyler, there were a lot of games where the passing yards just weren't there. Also receiving votes, you got Ryan. Derek Carr, the second on the honorable mention, so 12th. That's higher than I think most fans would put him. And I think that Derek Carr is going to have a really good year this year if the offensive line holds up, because I think Ruggs is going to take a step forward in year 2. Waller is excellent. And Carr started taking shots last year more frequently and being more aggressive. He has the arm to hit tight windows. I don't know. I'm kind of bullish on him. Roethlisberger, and this is where I differ. Roethlisberger, last year, fell off a cliff during the season. I think he's washed. Matt Ryan, I'd say he deserves to be in the top 10 discussion. Ryan Tannehill, if we're talking just on a per play basis, he's a top 10 quarterback right now. Burrow got hurt. He's definitely in consideration. Then you got Cousins. Baker should be in that conversation. I don't know why I'm sleepy all of a sudden. And then Carson Wentz. We'll see. He's going to have to prove it. I'm not saying that right now. He can get back in there, though. If I'm rating my top 10 quarterbacks, I know I did this kind of early in the show, or probably during free agency, before the draft, whatever. Or maybe it was after the draft. I think it was after the draft. But if I'm going with my top quarterbacks, and I don't need their graphic up for that. If I'm going with who I think Patrick Mahomes is number 1, period. If Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz weren't hurt last season during the Super Bowl, or heck, if just one of them was healthy, I think the Chiefs win that game. Because Rimmers would have been able to play right tackle, or should I say, they would have at least had a quality starting tackle on both sides. Because, like, Rimmers is serviceable. And Rimmers last year was really good. I can't remember the name of the guy who was in the game for them as like their fourth offensive tackle, but he was terrible all game long. It was bad. So I'm going to go with Pat Mahomes, number 1, Aaron Rodgers 2. And then I'm going to go with Russ 3. And people are probably going to call me crazy or call me stupid or whatever. I love what I saw from Josh Allen last year, and I think he's QB4. I can't drop Brady any further than 5, even if there are guys who I think might be better this year. They're just they're gonna have to be better this year and knock him down further. I'm gonna go with them. I'm gonna have Stafford 6. I think Stafford's been underrated for a very, very long time. Dak 7, and those guys are pretty much even for me. I'm gonna put Lamar 8 as well, which so far, I mean, my list has basically been the same except I reordered Brady, Wilson, and Allen. That's all I did, or that's all I've really done. The last 2 spots though are gonna change though. I'm putting Ryan Tannehill at 9. That guy has been incredible on a per play basis as the Titans starting quarterback. The win-loss record for the Titans with him as the starting quarterback is really impressive, at least to me. I mean, like, that offense with him at quarterback has been totally different. He has played the best football of his career, and I'm going to reward him for that. And he's been last season he was the best deep ball quarterback in the league. So I don't want to hear any of the stuff like I've seen other people. He doesn't have a deep ball, or he can't do this, or he can't do that. He's literally done everything. He's done everything people say he doesn't do or can't do. Now, we'll see in year 3 and with a new offensive coordinator what happens. But that offensive line should be better this year because you're expecting a healthy year out of Lewan. Dylan Radden's improving that right tackle spot, hopefully as a rookie. Nate Davis continuing to progress. He made big strides last year. I think he'll make more strides this year. Saffold bouncing back a little bit in his play. Ben Jones is the most underappreciated center, maybe the most underappreciated offensive lineman in the league for how good he is. They're going to miss Jonnu for sure at tight end. But we'll see. We'll see what happens at that position. Anthony Firkser is a really nice player though. Adding Julio Jones to AJ Brown, that's definitely an upgrade from Corey Davis. And having Josh Reynolds as like the third receiver, that's really nice. And actually, if you use him kind of similar to the way the Giants have mostly used Darius Slayton, I think rookie Des Fitzpatrick that we drafted could be interesting, like as a hitch slant, fly fade kind of receiver. I think he has the way he sets up his slants is actually really nice. I think he's somewhat limited as a receiver, but as a tertiary option, I actually like him. So I'm getting into a little bit of Titans analysis here, and then of course we've got Derrick Henry, and then I like Jeremy McNichols. I liked him when he came out of college. He's a really nice, just solid rotation back, and a healthy year 2 for Darrington Evans. He's probably going to be our main third down back. I think he's got a lot of upside there. I think Tannehill is in a really good position to succeed still. So we'll see. But I've got him 9. And then for my 10th quarterback, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. He played so well down the stretch last year. There was a little bit of a shaky start for the Browns. Some people were a little bit worried at the beginning of the year, but he won them their first playoff game in my lifetime. And that's enough to break that kind of group for me between him, Matt Ryan, who really it was between him and Matt Ryan. And then you've got Herbert and Murray right after that for me. Herbert had an incredible rookie year, but I need more to put him in the top 10 because there's the quarterback play we have these days, and people can say whatever they want. Quarterback play these days is so much, is the best it's ever been. Talent at the position is ridiculous. Kyler Murray, in terms of talent, is a top 10 quarterback, maybe even higher than that. The thing is, if you're looking at the stats, like if you look at last season, they lost a big game that they needed to win to against the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa won that game. I'm not saying Kyler Murray lost it, but like Tua played big in that game, and there were games last year where like where's the downfield like explosiveness from the Cardinals offense? You've got DeAndre Hopkins, you've got Christian Kirk, you had Larry Fitzgerald, you have, multiple good running backs, Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, you have Andy Isabella, and it just seemed like sometimes it's like, I don't know what's going on. Like the talent and the offensive output just didn't match some games. Like you had some games where like you saw it. And you had these plays where it's like, man, Murray he's incredible. But that wasn't the tale of his entire season. And he might cement himself in the top 10 this season. Because they've got a better offensive line. At the very least, they've got a better front 7 for their defense. And, that offense has still got a lot of talent. You've got Hopkins. You've got, Kirk's still there, I'm pretty sure. Andy Isabella. They drafted, how am I blanking on his name? They drafted Rondale Moore. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about Swiss Army knife type player on offense. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that guy, taking snaps as, a shotgun running back. Or at the very least, in the starting off or the possession or motioning into the backfield with Chase Edmonds. And they brought in some other running back, and I can't remember who it was. But anyway, that's my top 10. I'm going to list it again. Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson, Allen, Brady, Stafford, Dak, Stafford, Dak. Wow, I just had like. I'm losing my marbles. Who's 8? um. Stafford. Oh, Lamar Jackson, and then Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield. And I think Baker, like, because I got to talk about other people, but Baker's got incredible options this year. I think he's going to get the best Odell Beckham he's played with. Jarvis Landry is just super solid. Like, we talked about Keenan Allen earlier. Jarvis Landry is, like, just below Keenan Allen in that same type of player mold. They brought back Rashard Higgins. They have, another year of Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's really raw, but he made some plays at different points last year. I think he could carve himself out. If he's made big enough strides through training camp, he's going to carve out a bigger role. They're deep at tight end. Hooper, Njoku, I believe Harrison Bryant. It's one of Harrison or Hunter Bryant they drafted last year. Of course, at running back, Chubb and Hunt, and arguably the best offensive line in football. I would say the best, coming into the year, best offensive line in football. Baker was good enough last year to get them to the second round of the playoffs. And that team is better. The defense should be better this year, and they lost nothing on offense. They lost nothing. If all you did is add to a playoff team, this is Tampa Bay. This is kind of like Tampa Bay going into last year. Yes, they weren't a playoff team, but that was a playoff roster that had a quarterback who was holding it back in Jameis Winston, making way too many turnovers. They plugged in Tom Brady, and then not only did they not lose anything really important from that team, they added talent. And Tampa basically did the same thing this year. They didn't really lose anything massively important. All they did was add talent or add players where they could through the draft and a little bit of stuff in free agency. To me, that's what the Browns did this offseason. They didn't lose anyone, really. I think Carl Joseph went back to the Raiders, but they were going to be replacing him or hoping to replace him anyway. A healthy Grant Delpit was probably going to be one of their starters at safety. They brought in John Johnson from the Rams, who is so underrated. So underrated. That was a huge loss for the Rams defense, although they were planning for it. That's why they drafted multiple safeties. Or they've been drafted safeties pretty much every year. So they have, the Rams have been planning for this. But John Johnson is really good. He immediately turned a position of meh or even weakness last season for the Browns into a strength. Then they drafted Greg Newsome to go with Denzel Ward and hopefully a healthy Greedy Williams. They also signed another Rams. They signed Rams corner Troy Hill. He's going to be a nice addition to play mostly in the slot. So they've got a really nice 4 or 5 deep at corner. they were able to steal Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, good old Joker himself, in the second round, which he can play. The thing that made him so impressive was he was the best linebacker for Notre Dame, but he was also their best slot guy. He morphed between linebacker and slot corner, depending on matchups and what he read at the snap. So he's going to kind of help the DBs, but he's also going to help the linebacker group. And their front seven. I don't know if they improved upon moving or losing Olivier Vernon, but if the talk is true, if Jadeveon Clowney is healthy, he has the ability, especially with Myles Garrett on the other side, to have the most productive season he has had since his All-Pro season with the Texans. And they've got some interesting interior pieces, like I can't remember if Ogunjobi's back, but I know they've got I know they signed Malik Jackson. They have. I'd actually have to look at it. I know they picked up Marvin Wilson as an undrafted free agent, which could be a really good thing. There's upside there, but we'll see. Because he kind of his stock just cratered the last season and a half. And then they drafted Tommy Togiai out of Ohio State in the middle rounds of the draft, which I thought was an awesome pick. I think he's a really good fit for the interior of that defense. They brought in Andrew Billings. I think they have talent there. So anyway, but that's all I've really got for today. I'm gonna get off here. Let y'all have a great rest of your Friday. We've been going plenty long enough, especially considering for anyone watching the archive who's still watching at this point or listening at this point. Thank you for bearing with me forgetting to unmute my mic earlier. I don't know what I ended up missing that I talked about or what I ended up cutting off, but stuff happens, man. So anyway, thank you, and I guess that just means I can do better on Monday. I go from the beginning of the week, maybe the best stream I've ever done, to Boomer Central today. All right. Well, hope y'all have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked, hit the like button. Leave a comment. I'll read those. Subscribe if you want more. And